the Writing Community Chat Show Advent Christmas Calendar.
A story that could have been one of these little plays. I thought, no, I'll keep that up my sleeve, and I wrote it as a picture book, and that became the Gruffalo.
Yeah, I read something about when you mentioned the Gruffalo, that originally you wanted it to be a different kind of animal or something like that, and then how did the Gruffalo come around, as in the wording of the Gruffalo?
It was going to be about a tiger. It's based on a traditional tale where there's a tiger, and nothing really would rhyme with tiger, so
I love that. So, Julia, I've kind of got this a picture of you at the end of your bed, for example, seeing this massive Gruffalo, or Zog there, or Superworm. Is that something that happens? Do the characters sort of come to you?
Not at all. No, not at all. I think people kind of get hooked on the characters. And actually, if you're writing a children's picture book, it's much more about the story. Okay, you've got your character, you've got your monster or your witch or whatever. Usually they could be summed up in 2 words, actually, 2 adjectives. You could say my witch, and the Brim is scatty and generous. The Gruffalo is sort of stupid but scary. But you can't just think of some. You don't just dream up a character and write a story about. No, you on the whole, maybe you have a character, but you've got to have a good storyline. I think that's really the most important thing.
Yeah. A lot of people say that writing children's stories is notoriously hard. There's some really famous authors that have tried to write children's fiction and make that transition. What is it about children's fiction that you think makes it so difficult, and what sort of advice would you give to people that are looking to go into it?
Well, I don't know if it's really so different from writing anything else, but obviously, I mainly have written picture books, rhyming picture books. I have written older as well. And I would say you've got to have a good story, just the same as you've got to have a really good story if you're writing for a line of duty or something. You've got to have your twist and so on. And also the language, to write a really good picture book. So important what it sounds like, because it's going to be an adult reading this story, bedtime perhaps, to children. So every word's got to sound good. So it's quite a sort of concise form. It's not, you mustn't ramble, really. And that's the danger. Lots of people kind of send me, but please don't. I don't want anyone to.
No more.
I'm an agent. I'm not a judge. But people sort of send me this stuff, and often it's very sort of rambly, and it's got to be, very concise.
There's a lot of obviously illustrators that you work with, and I imagine it's a lot to do with your publishers as well. How is your relationship with them, and do you get much insight or input on how the graphics look?
Well, obviously, in choosing the illustration, the first, just how, deciding what illustrator is going to be the best illustrator for a book. I would now get a lot of say on that, but I've got various partnerships, like with Axel Scheffler or Letty Monk, so, I kind of know when I'm writing a book if I hope it's going to be for one of them. If it's a new book, that isn't suitable for one of them, then a lot of thought goes into choosing an illustrator. But once you've sort of chosen that illustrator, and if they're happy, if they've got to like the story, I don't believe in breathing down their necks too much. Normally what happens is they'll read the story, they'll decide if they want to illustrate it. Then they'll be asked to do some character sketches, and I will get some feedback. If I really, really think the character sketch is totally wrong, I'll say. But of course, it's not going to be how I've seen the character. It's how they see it that matters. And you've got to be, you've got to be able to hand over and not breathe down their neck. They're not breathing down my neck when I'm writing. So